Joining us right now, it's always great to be with Joe DiGenova, our legal analyst and former U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia. Hey, Joe.
Good morning.
So last week, Joe, I asked you about this standoff with the Bundy ranchers, and you said, listen, the law is not on this guy's side, but at the same time, the federal government's reaction was so overblown and was such an overreach that this is another example why American people have this distrust to their federal government, and you were happy that cooler heads had prevailed, right?
Absolutely.
Good summary? Okay, well, enough for cooler heads, because on Thursday, Senator Harry Reid, he's the senator from this great state of Nevada, he called Bundy and the people who came to his side domestic terrorists.
Yes.
Is this helping the situation, Joe?
Well, Harry has proven himself to be the meanest Mormon in America. And I think what he's done also is created a massive problem for himself. As you know, generally, Harry is on the floor of the Senate telling lies about people like the Koch brothers or Mitt Romney.
Yeah, I thought Koch brothers were the only domestic terrorists here
exactly.
that Harry Reid knew about.
He actually attacked the Bundys and their supporters at a press briefing in Las Vegas, not on the Senate floor. And when he called the Bundys and their supporters domestic terrorists, he defamed them. It's libel per se. And in fact, he was warned about it the day he did it, and the next day, at an NBC News local affiliate appearance, he said, I did not call the Bundys domestic terrorists. I said the people who came there with guns were domestic terrorists. He got a lecture from the Senate legal counsel who said, Mr. Leader, you are not immune when you say things like that. And if I were the Bundys and the people who came, I would sue Harry Reid's ass back to the Stone Age.
Well, listen, they might be calling you, Joe.
But here's the problem. When all is said and done, Harry Reid is obviously a person with deep mental and emotional problems. He cannot stand to have someone stand up against him. He is an amazingly little man, and he's created a problem. This is not going to go away. He has helped stoke the fires of a new prairie fire over states' rights and the use of federal land. This is not going to go away. It's going to get bigger.
You know, Joe, I always say that Harry Reid is the Republicans' best ally. Sometimes I wonder if they pay him to say these things. So I wanted to change the subject. The thing I've been thinking so much about this weekend is this horrific tragedy with this ferry capsizing, the Korean ferry.
Yes.
And I wanted your kind of professional legal advice here. I mean, look, I learned from the time I was 5 years old, the captain goes down with the ship, right? That the captain makes sure that everyone is off the ship before he abandons ship. That's exactly the opposite, it appears, from the news reports of what happened here, where basically they told all the passengers, stay in your cabins and so on, and then they were the first people in the lifeboats. Is there room for legal action here against the captain and the crew?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, they are all going to be criminally prosecuted by the Korean government. But more than that, there is the law of the sea.
Right.
And the truth is, this is not just some idea or nostrum that the captain goes down with the ship. It is the law of the sea.
Even if it's a civilian, not a military.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, it is the law it is maritime law.
Okay.
That a captain and his senior crew must stay on to assist passengers. This happened, as you recall, in the sinking of that cruise liner off the coast of Italy, where the captain abandoned ship while people were still being rescued by his crew. He has been criminally prosecuted in Italy. This is a very serious matter, and the Korean government realizes how bad this is politically for them. These guys are going to be prosecuted.
Could he be accused of murder?
He could be accused of
manslaughter,
negligent homicide.
Okay.
Under Korean law, but there are going to be serious criminal charges against him and his senior crew, all of whom abandoned the ship.
Well, I'll say this: if one of my sons or daughters had drowned in that accident, I'd strangle that.
Oh my gosh!
Coming as it does on the heels of the Malaysian airline fiasco and the secrecy and the mendacity of the Malaysian government, the Korean government is trying to do everything it can to be a little more transparent than its other Asian friends.
Joe DiGenova, I don't know if you heard the story we just talked about at the end of the last hour, but there was this family in Rockville who
yes, the Great Gatsby family.
Suing, exactly. Suing a private school because their little son didn't get into an Ivy League school, and they think, well, hey, this private school, they promised us. Is this example 1,378 that we need tort reform? I mean, we always say, well, you can sue for anything in this country. You're a lawyer. Isn't that a problem?
Well, living well is the best revenge, say the people of Montgomery County. And of course, This is an example of a judge who had his head screwed on straight. He threw this case out so fast the plaintiffs' lawyers didn't have time to catch their breath. This is a really stupid case brought by people who have a sense of entitlement that they are not entitled to. Obviously, their little kid didn't cut the mustard and couldn't make the grade, and now they want to blame others instead of blaming themselves and their son. This is silly litigation. And
but this kind of thing happens all the time, Joe.
Of course it does. It's the nature of our system.
And sometimes we don't have judges with their heads screwed on straight.
Remember why we are a litigious society. We told ourselves 200 years ago that we are going to litigate, not get out weapons and shoot one another. And we have propagated this notion that a lawsuit is the answer to everything. And in fact, a lawsuit is an invitation to misery because it costs money, it drags on for years, things are never resolved. So if people want to sue, like these people in Montgomery County, let them sue, let them waste their money on the lawyers who told them they could win, and this is what you get. This is what happens. America is a very litigious society, thanks to the plaintiffs' lawyers in this country.
Well, we have another similar case that Larry and I were talking about earlier about the case where the Clemson football coach had voluntary prayer in the locker room.
Yeah,
and I wonder,
the Federation for Freedom from Religion
is that a violation of these kids' constitutional right?
Well, the kids are adults. This is not a grade school
Right.
where you would have a legal problem because they are not considered adults for purposes of making decisions.
Yeah, but this
like
is a public university.
It doesn't matter one way or the other.
Okay.
If somebody wants to pray, they can pray anywhere, including a public university. When they're adults, when they are people who can walk out of the room and who aren't afraid to. And believe me, these athletes aren't afraid of anything, including their coach. So the bottom line is the people who are against this sort of thing have a very, very serious self-image problem. The atheists and others are so frightened of what's happening in the world of common religion that they cannot stand it. Their bodies revolve at the notion that someone may be saying a prayer somewhere in a corner of the nation.
Well, they're the ones who are intolerant, right, of people with other
Steve
lifestyles.
could not have said it better.
Right.
Here they are demanding tolerance for atheism, which,
Right.
as far as I'm concerned, they can believe anything they
Right,
want.
sure.
But
Or
don't
not
tell
believe.
me- but don't tell me what I can believe.
Right.
Yeah, it's the new evangelism in
reverse.
Yeah, evangelize. Hey, really fast, literally only about 30 seconds here, Joe. New Fox News poll came out on Thursday, says that a majority of Americans think that Obama's lying about Benghazi. They want Congress to keep investigating. Any hope that will embolden some people on the Hill?
Absolutely. In fact, the Republicans are not going to stop, and if they take the Senate in 2014, which is the most important thing, forget 2016, the investigations of Benghazi and the IRS will expand expositionally.
Oh, are you predicting a joint committee, perhaps, investigative
Absolutely.
committee? Wow.
If the Republicans take the Senate, which I predict there will be a joint committee.
All right, Joe DiGenova, thanks for joining us today.
You bet.
That could be a campaign slogan for 2014.